The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Hello, very good evening to you, and this is the first show of 2023, believe it or not, Dave, because we were meant to be here on Monday, but somebody wasn't well. I don't know who that could be, but I'm happy to be back now. And Happy New Year, Dave.
Happy Year, Michael. Pleased to hear you're a lot better now.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm looking better as well, but I suppose you might not agree with that comment, Dave. So, but no, I'm happy to be back on the show. We were meant to be on Monday, but because I wasn't well, never happened. So hopefully you're still not waiting about for the show on Monday, because if you are, well, you've got a long time to wait because the show didn't happen, but we're here on a Friday night. I'm joined tonight by my wonderful pal from Aberdeen, Dave Smith, I would say the second most popular journalist. But is that right, Dave? Or
who's the first?
The first is me.
Well, Scotland, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say Graham Duffy, but I didn't want him to take a heart attack there when I say that. But joined by Dave tonight. Graham is getting his makeup on, so he'll be here later on in the show. So if you want to comment on anything we are talking about, maybe you would maybe they would make more sense than Dave and me. YouTube and the YouTube and Facebook Live. I saw Graham's just put a comment on YouTube saying I will be with you guys shortly. Graham, I'm sorry to say, mate, but we're only on for 2 hours, so if you can make it between now and 7, that would be brilliant. No, I'm on the case. So we've got a lot to talk about, Dave, looking back at the football on Monday and looking forward to the games at the weekend as well. So first of all, I've not saw you for a few weeks. How have you been?
Yeah, good. Well, on the 23rd, I was at hospitality at Broth. Then the day later, I struck up with the flu, missed my Christmas dinner. I told you that story off camera. We're definitely not putting that story on camera, else everybody will laugh. And then I was at hospitality at Bankstown against Brecon City last Friday. So, yeah, I've been fairly busy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I know that you. In fact, I think that was the last time I was on as well when you were doing the hospitality, because you make a few comments in the comments section, and I was thinking about the pies as well. So, go on then, Dave. Was the pies nice?
Yeah, the head pizzas on as well. They were good.
Right, okay. Well then, other food outlets are available as well. This is not BBC then. So plenty of football to look forward to, Dave. Look back in as well, but let's begin at the beginning. Because there's a big game tonight in the Championship, and I believe this is the first game on the TV for a few months actually. Raith Rovers against Dundee, and I'm looking forward to this one. Dundee, that's going well in the Championship, Dave.
Yeah, but then a disappointing defeat on Monday against the Broths. It's going to be a very interesting one. I mean, Raith Rovers, Raith are a very interesting side because Raith are capable of picking up non-result. They are a better side than, say, Starks Park, but Raith aren't playing well, but still getting wins. That was shown on Monday. I mean, wanted their best on Monday, but still picked up a hard-earned 3 points up at Hamilton, winning 1-0. As for Dundee, I think the message from Gary Boyer will be let's get a response immediately, because quite simply, it was an embarrassing one on Monday. I mean, Arbroath will be resurgent in the second half of the season. That's been shown by the recruitment that they've done this week, because they've signed 4 players. But at exactly the same time, Dundee, their response, not a good bit of preparation ahead of tonight's game, because Zach Robinson's went back to Wimbledon and he did very, very well at Dundee. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tonight. I'm looking forward to see how this one goes.
And Dundee's got a big incentive, Dave, because of the win. Well, for all of 24 hours, they can go top of the league.
Yeah. I mean, that was the one thing that happened on Monday. Had they not been so pitiful in specific areas of the park and specific areas of the game, they'd have been able to just go top and probably go well clear at the top. But Queen's Park took full advantage, and Queen's Park set top prior to tonight. But tonight there's a bit of pressure, I would say, in Dundee, because they do have to go and get the result first and foremost. And then it allows pressure on other teams, knowing such as Queen's Park, who have a tough game up at Cove, considering Cove have a new manager in place after what happened on Monday there. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting game for Dundee tonight. And Dundee have a mixed record up at Starks Park, so it's going to be interesting.
And obviously, I was looking at Dundee's record before I came on here, Dave, and they scored 32 goals this season, so quite impressive.
Yeah, but as I said, the main notice for me is, are they going to replace the goals that Zach Robinson scored? Because they got a lot of joy Dundee through, like Paul McMullen and Zach Running in particular. But I know, having read social media, that the Dundee supporters are very much disappointed that they've lost Zach Robinson back to Wimbledon. Now, Gary Boyer has kind of hinted in the papers today that Robinson could return back to Dales Park, and if that happens, that's a very good acquisition indeed, whether that's a loan deal or permanent. But I mean, in terms of this one, it's an interesting one. Dundee have been scoring goals all over the park, not just the midfield and forward areas. They've also been scoring goals defensively. We are scoring a few this year. Jordan McGee scored a few, and Dundee look at a good threat all over the park. So I'm looking forward to see how they set up tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing if there's any wholesale changes after Monday, and then seeing how they approach the game and take the game tonight.
I was listening to Ian Murray speaking today, the manager of Raith Rovers, and he was saying Dundee is on a fantastic run. They've got a good manager and got a good backroom staff, but it will be a very tight game because, well, you would know better than me, Dave, but all the games so far between Raith Rovers and Dundee has been very tight games this season.
Yeah, they always are. I think Dundee went to Starks Park in the second game of the season, 1-1-0. There wasn't much to separate Dundee and Raith when they played in Dundee. And even the games in the past, whenever, irrespective of Ian Murray, whenever John McGlynn was in charge at Raith, Raith Rovers were always combat. They were always tough to beat, and they always got a good odd few results. I remember covering Dundee mainly on the whole a few years ago, and they had a few games against Raith, and the wins were 2 apiece in the games I covered. There was 2 games in which Raith won at Starks against Dundee 3-1, and then Raith won the playoff at Dens Park, but Raith didn't have enough because Dundee had won 3-0 comfortably at Starks Park, and then on the other side of that, Dundee went and beat Raith 2-1. So there's never more than 2 goals in these games, and this is what makes tonight's game very compelling.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's a biggest incentive for Dundee, but also at the same time, it's a big incentive for Dundee as well to get up that table.
Yeah, I think Raith have been very hot and cold. They've been very erratic this season so far. Raith, they can use this as a terrific incentive to go and get a much needed result, go and build on Monday's very good win against Hamilton. And yeah, one thing that could be very interesting for tonight is Raith have been picking up a few disappointing results. Like they were very lucky to come away with a point away against Arbroath. They've had a couple of disappointing results and went to, I believe, prior to Monday, it was 1-1-6. So that's what makes it very interesting as far as Raith Rovers are concerned. As for Dundee, as I said, it's an opportunity to bounce back from Monday. The first thing you want as a professional footballer, if you've had a bang the feet, such as what accomplished them on Monday, is you want a game as soon as possible, and tonight provides Dundee the perfect opportunity to go and do that. But they know what's ahead of them. They know that a tough game is on the horizon, and it's a good game because Ian Murray likes to play in the front foot. Ian Murray's quite astute in terms of what he does. He's quite switched on. So is Gary Boyer. Gary Boyer. Dundee got off to a bit of a stop-start in terms of starting the season, results-wise, not in terms of preparation or anything. But there seems to be a love between the Dundee fans and Boyer, and irrespective of bad results such as Monday or drawing at Gayfield or losing to sides around the bottom end of the table. I remember he took a bad one off Inverness Cali at Dens Park, and there was a tinge of pressure that day, but then he went on a fantastic run afterwards. I think you're right. I think the main message from Dundee's point of view is go and get the win again, because Dundee won. Dundee only lost 1 in 10 prior to Monday, and that would be the main message as far as Dundee's concerned. Get back to winning ways, make a statement, show that we want to be challenging for the championship and go back to the Premiership in the first possible opportunity.
Yeah, no, exactly. Am I right in saying, Dave, that Ian Murray was at Airdrie when they beat Motherwell in the League Cup at the beginning of the season?
Yeah. He was at Airdrie for a few years, yeah.
Yeah. So that was doing well, and he was at Dumbarton as well. So he's kind of got to know the game a bit more now as a manager.
Yeah, he's been in the dugout for 10 years now. He's actually quite experienced considering you look at his stature and age and all sorts. Well, here's Graham Duffy. You look at everything. He's actually been in the management game for just over a decade now, but he's earned a lot of experience. And it's funny as a manager because you can pick up so much experience in a decade of worth of management. You can end up having 550 games under your belt. We'll get on to it later on, but Rachel Lee Johnson was on about the fact that he's managed 550 games as a manager, but that's the last thing in Hibs fans' minds. Ultimately, as a manager, you're judged on winning or losing, and Ian Murray's done superbly well in terms of the clubs he's been at. Maybe a little bit of luck at Airdrie, maybe a tinge of frustration at Airdrie, just in terms of everything that happened at the club, in terms of playoffs, failing on two specific occasions. Rafe, it's hard to gauge where Rafe are at right now because they don't want to be a club that's sitting 9th or 10th, but at exactly the same time, they're not a club expected to be in the playoffs every season, according to a few. So it's an interesting one. I think he's a slap bang in the middle. I think it's a slap bang in the middle job for Ian Murray at Raith Rovers.
Well, thanks for joining me tonight, Dave. That was a brilliant show. Sorry. Right, okay. Graham's joined us. Graham, have you got your makeup on?
All right, troops. Yeah, can you not tell?
Yeah, you're looking better tonight.
I couldn't look any worse than used to. Let's be fair.
Well, me the other day, but the rest they give it that better. Happy New Year, Graham.
I used to. Hope you're all well.
Yep. Cool. I'm just talking about tonight's game, Raith Rovers against Dundee. Looking forward to get them another game on the TV.
I know, and it's slap bang in the middle of Man United against Everton in the FA Cup, but who wants to watch that? No, it should be a decent game. Obviously, Dundee getting beat by Arbroath last week. A bit of a surprise, I think, given the run that Dundee been on. So a massive win for Arbroath. But yeah, it should be an interesting game. I don't know, I actually fancy Raith for this. I don't know why, but I do fancy Raith for this very, very closely.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we'll come back to speak about the rest of the championship games later, because I know that Dave is going to cover in the game tomorrow, so we're going to speak about that later on. Guys, we can't continue on the show tonight without speaking about a sad loss of the game today, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Gianluca Vialli did so much for football. The Gazzetta in the 90s, if you're old enough. That was absolutely brilliant. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant on that. Played terrific football, was a very, very good player, and a career languishing so many appearances, an absolute icon for us all. The unfortunate thing, and it is very unfortunate, is we've lost so many greats in this game of late. Guys that we already know. I mean, 223 appearances for Sampdoria, some goal. My Chelsea guys, the 58 appearances for Chelsea is some goal. 21 goals and 58 isn't a bad return. Juventus, very good club to be a part of. 58 appearances for Italy, and just an all round great guy. And cancer is vile. I was going to put in a swear word here, but cancer very much is vile. It's not a great. It's a horrible disease. It's vile. It's not something I wish on my worst enemy. And yeah, we were missed by so many within the game. And he was a fundamental pillar in ushering a trophy-laden era at Stamford Bridge, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm speaking about this from a Chelsea perspective. Even after his time at Chelsea, Gianluca was a Chelsea through and through, a frequent visitor at Stamford Bridge, and loved by everybody at the club. So, absolute topper of a guy. He's also worked with some greats in the game. Roberto Mancini, one that springs to mind. And yeah, just an all-round great guy. Now, he'd been undergoing radiotherapy and chemotherapy for a long, long time now. And he was initially given all clear in April 2020. But unfortunately, the disease returned last year. Unfortunately, he's no more as far as we're concerned. But I loved watching Gianluca, not just for Chelsea, but also in Italian football as well. I loved Italia 90. I loved watching James Richardson's shows on Gazzetta, and an all-round good guy. So, condolences to the family at this sad time, and thoughts and prayers to the family at this sad time.
And Graham, I was watching an interview with Graham Souness at lunchtime on Sky. He was very upset and very cut up. You could imagine so.
Absolutely. You know, Gazette of Football Italia was a staple in mine when I was younger, watching that, and he was a massive part of that. He was a brilliant footballer. And 58's no age, let's be honest. It's a really very young age, and I didn't know till this morning that he was ill. I don't know if a lot of other folk had the same thought. And it's just, it's very, very sad. He was a brilliant footballer, a really good manager as well. And again, it's going to be a sad loss, but it seems to be happening quite a lot now that all these kind of legends of the game, you've got Pele, you've got Maradona, you've got Vialli. You know, just a few weeks ago, you had Doddy Weir in rugby. All these legends of the game that are unfortunately passing away. And it's a massive shock and a massive loss. And I think his loss will be felt, especially by his family, but it's a huge loss for football. He was a great, great player. And as I say, that Channel 4 programme, Gazzetta Italia, was brilliant. I loved watching that. And he was a great player to watch as well. You know, you could see he loved the game. And there was a video I saw, I think it was this afternoon actually, and it was Mancini and Vialli hugging after, I think it was Italy won the Euros, the World Cup. Yeah, that was a great moment. And obviously Mancini, very, very close friends. He'll be devastated. So yeah, it's a very, very sad loss. And another one to unfortunately add to that list.
And David, we can't go on speaking about people that passed away and not mention about the late great Frank McGarvey, played for Celtic and St Mirren. Now, I didn't know Frank that well, but I played football with his son years ago, Sean McGarvey. Brilliant football player, you would have to say. But again, Frank was battling with cancer as well. And I saw him at Parkhead, I think it was a few months ago, and it wasn't looking good at all, you know. And he made a kind of emotional speech to the fans before the game, and what it was saying was that the doctors has basically said, "This is my last visit to Celtic Park," and you know, you just felt so sad and then, but again, we didn't know that Frank wasn't well up until that point. And we didn't know how bad it was, you know.
Can I just make a point by saying that what makes this more sadder is the fact this was a New Year's Day. It wasn't like it was 30th December, any other day. The fact that it's a New Year's Day makes it more sadder for the family because you start all that kind of stuff, and then to get that news right in your doorstep is just it's traumatic. It is one of those traumatic moments, unfortunately. And Frank McGarry, like yourself, Michael, I didn't know him too well because obviously not a Celtic guy or anything like that, but he obviously scored a lot of goals for Celtic. He was a figure around Celtic Football Club, but also he was a St Mirren legend as well. He was absolutely brilliant for both Celtic and St Mirren. The fact that so many tributes have poured in from Celtic, ex-players, supporters, managers, and people within the media. The fact that he was adored by many, around Celtic and around Scottish football tells you everything you know about how inspirational he was, how respected he was, and how welcomed he was within the game. So again, thoughts and condolences go out to Frank's family at this sad time because we've lost a few alongside obviously the world football greats. We've lost a few Celtic greats over the years as well, unfortunately, and thoughts and prayers to all the families concerned.
Graham, Dave makes a brilliant point there in terms of people forget that when I heard the news about Frank McGarry passing away, it was actually New Year's Day. So it's like when people get together, families get together to have, I don't know, whatever they get up to New Year's Day. I know what I was getting up to New Year's Day, not being well, but that time of year as well, when you're bringing families together, and it's not that, it's people will remember that now because of his memory and because of his anniversaries coming up as well.
Yeah, they will. I mean, whenever anyone passes away, it's never nice. But the fact that it's happened at that particular moment, everyone's kind of obviously enjoying themselves, and it's a massive kick in the teeth. So yeah, the timing is horrendous, and you can only think about the family at this time as well. It's a horrible thing to happen. As I keep on going back to, Dave's mentioned it as well. Cancer is horrible. It's a horrible disease, and unfortunately, it's happening far too often now. I wish they could find a cure and find it quicker than they are, because it's horrible for families and stuff. It really is. And again, it's affected so many folk, and all we can do again is pass our condolences to everyone that's, unfortunately got this horrible disease and that has passed away from it.
Yeah, well said, guys. Okay, let's go on to the football and all that. Usually when you talk about these kind of things, football becomes second nature, as it were, because it's a family, it's a his wife and his family as well. Thoughts and prayers go out to them at this time as well. And so football becomes second nature now when you talk about these kind of things as well. We were meant to be here on Monday, Graham. No sympathy for me, you would say, because there was sympathy because I was giving myself sympathy. So we didn't have the chance to come on and speak about your team's win again against the Hibs and Celtic's crucial goal against Rangers at Ibrox. So we'll come back to that later on when we look forward to the games at the weekend. So we spoke about the championship game tonight, Raith Rovers against Dundee. Let's go up to Dave's neck of the woods, Aberdeen against St. Johnson. I was saying to you, Dave, earlier on that we haven't spoke to you for a few weeks, so I haven't got your take on what you're going to see here, the Celtic and Rangers game, but also Graham Shinney is back as well for Aberdeen. I think that's a positive move for Aberdeen. He's saying him. First of all, before we get to Graham Shinney back, what's your take been on Aberdeen in the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because any genuine Aberdeen fan would tell you that have a go against Celtic and Rangers, but also be of the mindset that it's not the end of the world if you give your all and you beat 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, those types of scorelines. It's not the end of the world because the difference between playing Celtic and Rangers in comparison to playing us Johnston, the Hearts, and Hibs is two totally different things and two totally different dynamics altogether. And but for Aberdeen to be so isolated against Celtic and nearly get a point in my head was sickening. The fact that Aberdeen blundered over a 2-1 lead to lose the game was sickening as well. I mean, a few things from the Celtic game first and foremost in the aspect of the simply parked the bus. Right, the simply parked the bus against Celtic. There's no other way to put it. This parking the bus worked for 87 minutes until a bit of quality from Carl McGregor ensured that Ange Postecoglou's side walked away with all 3 points. When Aberdeen played Rangers, there was a bit more positivity. There was a bit more optimism from Aberdeen in the front three. There was a bit more impetus. But you still got the impression that Aberdeen were exactly the same against Celtic, and that is very, very poor. Clarkson scored a good goal, fantastic free kick by Duke. But in terms of getting into the forward areas, in terms of getting into the 6-yard area, in terms of being threatening in the final third, it was very rarely there. And I wasn't in the Celtic game because, as I said to you guys, I had to go up to Dingwall to cover Ross County St Johnstone. But I was at the Rangers game, and I never felt comfortable, even though Aberdeen were 2-1 up. I never felt comfortable. I always had a feeling that Rangers were going to get back at the game. And that's not me being negative. That was me being genuine. Michael Beale made some subs in that game in question, and Kelly Roos and Jaden Richardson were basically on the bullseye of a dartboard afterwards because they were basically both to blame for Aberdeen getting beaten that game in question. Anthony Stewart as well, but not as much as Richardson and Roos. Roos basically mishandled the ball for the corresponding shot for the second goal, and then Arfield has a thank you very much job. And then again, Richardson basically headers the ball into his own 6-yard area for the third goal, and Arfield chuckles the ball into the net. There's a shout for handball, but VAR would have said something had Arfield scored. And then we met, it was a massive thing in football. I was at the Rangers game, as I touched upon, and as soon as Rangers scored that third goal, the droves of Aberdeen fans just went away in the ascendancy. It was, we couldn't watch it. Now, unfortunately, I was at the top end of the main stand, so it took me a wee minute to get out. But so I had to watch the Rangers celebrations, unfortunately. But yeah, that's where we were at, unfortunately. As for football, it was a big thing in football. And it was similar to showing to Stephen Glass when they got beat by Raith Rovers in the Premier Sports Cup last year. Or the Premier Sports Cup, it was called at that time. And St Mirren beat Aberdeen. And Aberdeen again were poor. But they were atrocious. If you think that was poor, they were atrocious against Kilmarnock. And then Ross County offered very little inspiration. And Aberdeen were very deservedly booed off the park. So it makes tomorrow against Johnston a massive game now. And that's all it is. It's a massive game to make sure Aberdeen get back in the profession of European football. Now, I'm not just saying this because game's on. I think Hearts will finish third now. I don't think Aberdeen have enough courage, enough character, enough quality to see themselves through. I'll be happy to be proved wrong. I think Hearts have a lot more charisma about them and character about them just now.
Graham, I'll let you come back in that one. Yeah.
I have to agree. I mean, I now run, surprisingly, Hearts fans WhatsApp group that I set up a few days ago, which has now got nearly 200 folk on it. And I did mention this. I did mention in the group chat, I put the league table up from before the World Cup started, and Aberdeen were 4 points ahead of Hearts. We are now 5 ahead. I am very, very surprised at how well Hearts have done, but I am also very surprised that Aberdeen have imploded. And I also said this as well, that I believe, maybe wrongly, but I believe that defeat to Rangers and the way that it happened has had a massive effect. You know, losing 2 late goals like that, that's had a huge effect on Aberdeen. The confidence looks drained. Now, I expected them to beat Ross County at home, and they dominated the game, but just couldn't score. And Hearts, Dave mentioned it, Hearts have a lot of character just now. We've been suffering from the injuries. We've had the European games. We've had a lot of problems to deal with. None most of the Craig Gordon getting stretchered off and, you know, having that double leg break. Xander Clark's a very good goalkeeper. He's not Craig Gordon, but he's a very good backup. And I did worry about him on Monday against Hibs, but he was outstanding. You know, Toby Civic, I've spoken about before, he stepped up to the plate. We've got an absolutely fantastic striker in Lawrence Shankland. So I think Hearts have got everything now to finish third. I genuinely believe that. I know we're looking to try and sign a few more players as well. We're hopefully getting a guy, Garan Kuyo from Newcastle. We're hopefully getting Yaturo Oda as well, and maybe bringing back Callum Patterson. So I think we're recruiting in the right areas. We need another centre-back, but I think Hearts are in a very, very strong place just now. We've got 2 home games. We've got 2 games to come against St Mirren, and then we've got the massive game against Aberdeen at Tynecastle. That will be huge. But the fact, as I just mentioned before, the fact we're 4 points behind before the World Cup, and now we're 5 ahead, is brilliant. But Aberdeen, for me, I mean, again, the Aberdeen against Rangers game, I thought Aberdeen were very good. But again, one of our colleagues in the group chat as well, Robbie Hanratty, mentioned as well, and I do agree with him. They made 3 changes in that game. They took off Duke, they took off Majowski, and they took off Clarkson and went very defensive. Yeah. And after that, you could see that Aberdeen sat back to try and protect the lead, and it didn't work. Now, I completely understand why Goodwin got stick after the Celtic game, because they were very poor. I expected better. But that Rangers game for me was an absolute kick in the teeth. To not even get a draw, to lose that game the way they did, was a huge disappointment. And Hearts at the moment are just going from strength to strength.
David, I wanted to ask you as well, do you think the part of the blame's got to go Jim Goodwin? And also my second part to that question is, I don't think he should take all the blame here. I think it should be Dave Cormack, because he employed Jim Goodwin, but also, first of all, he employed even spit out Michael Stephen Glass, and we all knew how that ended up as well. So, do you think it's a case of looking at Dave Cormack's appointments?
You could say that. You could say that, yeah. Now, the Aberdeen job is between Aberdeen won't admit this, right? But the Aberdeen job is down to Jack Ross or Jim Goodwin. Jim Goodwin went a very, very good month at St Mirren prior to getting the job at Pittodrie. Because if you remember, he got a very good victory at Tannadice. I think he'd beaten Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. He'd beaten Aberdeen, subsequently, should I say, sorry. And he also, I might be horrible wrong here, I think he drew with Hearts. I might be horrible, well, he drew with one big side anyway. And I think that's what I think was the springboard for Jim Goodwin getting the Aberdeen job, because the stock was very, very high. And Jack Ross was a little bit of domination because of how things had unfolded at Hibs and how it just been so recent. If you were to ask me, I think Jim Goodwin was the right appointment at the time. But then I'll tell you one guy that I think should have got an Aberdeen job that isn't even been in consideration, and he's doing a brilliant job at St just now. It's Stephen Robinson, because Stephen Robinson has a terrific knowledge of Scottish football. For me, you can disagree with me if you want. Stephen Robinson walks at any job in Scottish football right now, my honest opinion, apart from Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah. There you go, a brief answer from Dave. New year, new start. That's what I like. Quick show connect, guys. I wanted your comments on Graham Shinney has returned to Aberdeen. Has returned from Aberdeen today on loan from till the end of the season. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a very good signing. It's a bit underwhelming, but at exactly the same time, it brings the feel-good factor back into the club because the positivity, the optimism, and the enthusiasm is very much back within Aberdeen fans as a result of Graham Shinnie coming back. I mean, on our group chat, even you've got Robbie Henry going out saying he's buzzing that Graham Shinnie's back, and you wouldn't have got that on Wednesday, for example. And they've all been they've all been knife sent towards Jim Goodwin prior to that. And this is what makes tomorrow massive. Graham Shinnie's homecoming. Jim Goodwin named 3 points immediately, and the most important point, I think, getting a much needed win before playing Rangers next Sunday.
There you go. Short answers again, Graham. Eh? What's happening to him?
I think he's right. I think he used the word underwhelming. I mean, Shinnie's a good player, but is he really going to take Aberdeen to the next level? I'm not convinced. But he's a good footballer, there's no doubt about that. But I think Aberdeen at the moment looking a bit of a rut just now. I was interested to see the team last week. Christian Ramirez actually started that game, and it's been a while since he played. And again, I watched the highlights of the Ross County game. Aberdeen dominated that game. You know, they should have won the game. They just couldn't finish. Aberdeen tomorrow's a massive game for them. You know, St Johnstone going to be a very tough team to beat. Aberdeen at home again, you would think would get 3 points, but it's a very tough game. If Jim Goodwin doesn't get 3 points out of that and Hearts stretch their lead, I don't want to say Goodwin will be under pressure, but I think Aberdeen fans might start to question what he's doing so far.
What?
Darvill's make or break. Darvill's make or break for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. I think, if they don't win against Darvel, then I think I think you might be looking at a new manager, Dave. You could maybe put on your CV. I don't know. What about St Johnstone then? Because obviously they get beat on Monday against Gundy United 1-0. Goose while we think St Johnson's on the up again. That was a surprising result for Dundee United to go to McDermott Park to win against the Saints.
Yeah, this is what makes tomorrow very intriguing because I've seen St Johnstone in the flesh myself in previous weeks, and I think St Johnstone, forward-thinking side, have got a lot more impetus and capacity than last year, and I think St Johnstone have a lot more energy in the midfield and forward areas. But I think St Johnstone took advantage of Ross County. Mr. Beaners, because also County were just in 10 men with Jack Baldwin getting sent off, but exactly the same time. Johnston, they were a better side against County. I had optimism for County. They've got a bad defeat to Celtic. A couple of bad defeats to Hearts and Dundee United. And I think tomorrow gives us a better indication as to where St Johnstone are at right now. Because, being honest and respectful, St Johnstone are never going to be countered against Celtic. I mean, you can never judge them against Celtic at the east end of Glasgow. McDermott Park's a different ballgame because obviously fans, atmosphere, different, not different class of course, but different environment. That's what I was meant to say. So you can judge it that way. They played Hearts and went to go up. Did they go up, Graham?
Yeah. We were 2-0 up.
Hearts were 2-0 up, right? Hearts were 2-0 up, but St Johnstone still had a bit of firepower about them, still had a bit of energy about them, and Hearts ultimately ran out winners in the end. But yeah, that was a sore one, but exactly the same time. My point is that Hearts will probably have a lot more quality than St Johnstone right now. And then Dundee United are doing very, very well just now. So I think tomorrow gives us a good indication as to where St Johnstone are at just now.
Graham, as for the next game, we're going to move on to speak about is Ross County against Livingston.
Yeah, I mean Ross County again. As I say, they were okay in spells against Aberdeen. I think they are. I think I've said before. I think they could be in trouble this season. They just don't score enough goals. You know, I think Jordan White's probably their main striker, to be honest. I do like Jan Danda, but again, he's not a natural goal scorer, so they have to get that sorted in January. They've got quite a few weeks yet till the window closes. They have to get another couple of strikers in because that's where they're lacking. I think they're a very kind of stuffy team. They do try and play decent football, but you know what you're going to get is Livingston. Livingston are such a tough team, and I've said numerous times on the show before, David Martindale does such a great job on a shoestring budget. He really does. I think Livingston, for me, might just win this by the odd goal. I don't think it'll be a classic game, but I've said that before, so you never know. But I just think Livingston might just have a little bit more in the forward area, because St John's, Ross County again. I mean, ever since they lost Ray Charles Cook and Humble, they've not really strengthened that area, and that is where they're lacking. If they're getting a couple of forward players in January, they could be okay, but I would worry for them.
Great, Dave. Glenn was saying about Ross County not scoring a lot of goals this season. 14 goals this season. That's why they're at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, Jordan White's probably scored 50% of them goals, which is more concerning. And I seen a very good point on Twitter, and it actually somewhat agrees with point that Ross County should be doing more on the recruitment front. I mean, the fact that, well, the guy Jake Eastwood is back to Sheffield United, which is a more understandable one considering Ross Lane was tied down a new contract at the club, and they've got a couple of good young goalkeepers coming through. But yeah, the concern is more that Ross County aren't taking in players. I know we're only in the 6th of January, but the concern is that Ross County have been fairly quiet in the January transfer front so far. And Wayne McGregor's renowned for getting his pocket out, his bank balance out, and spending money. He's not done that so far, interestingly enough. It's going to be an intriguing game tomorrow. I mean, Ross County are usually a fortress at the Globe Energy Stadium, but their biggest loss is side that, as Graham touched upon, are a good side under Martindale. They're compact, they're on the front foot, they're in your face as Livingston, and they'll go into this way looking to get back to winning ways. Got a 1-1 draw against Millwall on Monday, and it was a little bit frustrating as far as Livingston are concerned. For Ross County, I'm interested to see if Akio and Waturi play tomorrow, because them two are allegedly, and I mean that verbally, allegedly the two players that went out in Inverness or they went out drinking in Hogmanay. So, and then they got disciplined internally. So, I'm interested to see if there's selection tomorrow. Marky Mackay says the situation's been rectified. So, we're just to see if they're in the squad or what happens there. As for Livingston, they'll both get back to winning ways. Ross County's notoriously a tough place to go, but if Livingston can go and get a good result, then they'll get a good springboard out of that. They'll get a lot of impetus out of that, and it's an opportunity to put pressure on teams such as Aberdeen and probably St Mirren as well.
I wonder if those Ross County players met Lee Johnson when they were out.
Probably.
Graham, I wanted your comments on, obviously we'll come back to VR later on in the show, because they're the new sponsor of the show, because we seem to speak about VR every week now. David Martindale's comments was today that we have to get decisions timed, we have to get decisions quickly, and VR should not ref the game. The ref should be doing it. Well, obviously, who knew that? But yeah, that's a interesting point that David Martindale's making. Then would you agree with his comments?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Hearts game against Hibs obviously on Monday, and the penalty decision that Hearts eventually get, I didn't have a clue what was happening, and I don't think anyone in the stadium knew what was happening. I was watching the game on TV because I managed to find it, and for about 5 minutes, nobody had a clue what was going on. First, it was it offside? Then, was it handball? Was it a foul? That took probably 5 or 6 minutes. Nobody had a clue what was happening. And then finally, we're told he's checking for handball. He goes to the monitor, and he must have spent about another 5 minutes looking at the monitor. I mean, what are you looking at? You shouldn't need to take that long to figure out a decision or not. I know there was a lot happening, but that shouldn't have to take that long. But yeah, VR, that's the biggest problem. It does take too long. And again, you're adding on about 25 minutes of stoppage time. It's like the World Cup all over again. but you have to get quicker at this. It's ridiculous that these things are taking so long. There's no need for it. Again, the Hearts game on Monday, I think there was 7 minutes of stoppage time in the second half. I don't know what that was for, because I never saw any 7 minutes. So people don't know what's happening with VAR, and I can understand why managers get frustrated, because as a fan, I'm frustrated watching it, wondering what's going on here, because nobody knew what was happening on Monday.
The team news going into the Livingston game, and we'll come back to VAR. By the way, I was going to say before the end of the season, but no, before the end of the show. It is Tom Parks is coming back. He is doing well. He's a few weeks away yet. Jamie Brandon is he'll be out running soon. So I take it that's a manager term for yes, he'll be running next week, but he won't be in the team for the next few weeks. I think that's what that means. Anyway, St Mirren against your beloved Hearts, and it'll be a bit ignorant of me to go to Dave first on this one, so I'll go to Graham on this one. This should be quite a good game because two good football teams.
Well, one.
Well, I've got to say that. What, St Mirren?
Jambles, obviously. No, it should be a decent game. I think Dave's right about Stephen Robertson has done a very good job. Having a man sent off very early on Monday night, Anahan got sent off very early, and they managed to get a point out of that game. And Hearts are flying. They really are flying. That game on Monday, I always go into these derby games really nervous because it's a derby game. You don't know what to expect. But I said last week, on paper, Hearts have a better team, but the game ain't played on paper. But again, Hearts turn up in a derby game. That's just what we do. And again, we didn't start the game particularly well, but once we got that early goal, we were the far better side, unless you're John Collins, who doesn't agree with that. But, Will Fish for that first goal. I don't know what he was trying to do. It's brilliant for Cammy Devlin. He really is great at that. He wins the first challenge. He doesn't give up. He wins the second one. I mean, Will Fish, know your place. Boom, boom. I could do this all week. It's great play. He gets it back to Josh Ginnelly. And fair play to Ginnelly as well, because Ginnelly has the shot. David Marshall should do better. But what I love about this is the fact that Lawrence Shanklin's alive to it. He reacts quicker than the Hibs defenders, who are static. Not for the first time. Maybe they were out in the... I was going to say something else there, but I won't remember the lead person as well. But yeah, I mean, after that, I thought Hearts controlled the game. Hibs didn't really offer a lot. Again, I go back to the penalty decision. Nobody knew what was happening there, but we get the penalty 2-0 up, and I think, right, we've got this now. But I always feel with this Hearts defence, because there's no Kingsley, there's no Halkett, we don't have Craig Gordon, that we might concede. I never really thought that on Monday. Second half, yes, Hibs had a lot of the ball, but they put a lot of aimless balls in there that were headed away by Kyle Rowers or Toby Sivic, who was brilliant, by the way. And then Xander Clark pulls off two fantastic saves, really good double save, and then Reynolds blocks in the line, and then Stephen Humphrey scores a third goal. I don't know what the Hibs defence are doing. David Marshall, for me, I don't know what he's doing, because that ball travels a long way and he doesn't come off his line. 3-0, absolutely delighted with that. Another derby victory, boom, boom, delighted. But yeah, it should be a difficult game tomorrow, I think. But if Hearts can pick up, I might be greedy here, but we've got St Mirren twice and Aberdeen. If we can pick up 9 points out of these next 3 games, I think third place is pretty nailed on, because I think we've got players to come back as well. Don't forget that. And the transfer window's still open. We're going to sign a few players in the transfer window. So we are looking very, very good. St Mirren, it'll be a difficult test for us, but I'd like to think that on the back of that win on Monday, Hearts will be flying. So hopefully we get 3 points. It'll be a tough game, but I do expect Hearts to win this.
Do you think it's... I know Craig Gordon is out for the rest of the season, and hopefully, fingers crossed he'll be back at some point, but I very much doubt it. But do you think because of Zanger Clarkson goals, Graham, do you think that feels as though it's a new signing?
Yeah, it does. And again, I think Zander Clarkson's a great goalkeeper, but he's not Craig Gordon. Craig Gordon makes unbelievable saves. To be fair to Xander Clark, he made a couple of brilliant saves on Monday, and a lot of Hearts fans are like, do you know what? I'm happy now. We've got Xander Clark, perfect. We've got Scotland's 2 best number goalkeepers. But it was great for what he had to do. Again, I thought Hibs put a lot of balls in the box, but didn't really offer that much, to be honest, going forward. I thought Harry McCurdy was a fish out of water, just like his pal Wilfish. I thought he was terrible.
Boom, boom. Oh, you're on fire tonight, mate. What's happening?
I know. I don't know why Lee Johnson chucked those two in there. They were both so poor. It was no surprise they got stopped at half time. I'll let Dave come in a minute because I do want to talk about Hibs as well. I want to talk about Lee Johnson, but I'll let Dave come in. But I thought, honestly, Monday, Hearts played some really good stuff as well. And I just want to say as well, Michael, you mentioned this as well. I'm sure Dave has as well. I want to again give special praise to Robert Snodgrass. That boy plays with a cigar and slippers. He was outstanding again. Absolutely brilliant football.
Dave?
Well, they're speaking about offering him a new contract then again. Snodgrass.
Yeah, and it looks like he will accept it as well. He honestly is a great signing for us. He has been. And I think if we get European football again, he will be a huge plus for us next season.
See, I don't want to say I was right, but I think I'm right because I think if you sing Snodgrass early on, Graham, I think Hearts might have, well, maybe still not been in Europe, but got a few more wins in the European campaign.
I think if they had Robert Snodgrass, we'll also go to the game in a minute. I think if Hearts had Robert Snodgrass, I think they would have had a little bit more organisation about their play.
Yeah.
I think they missed his experience in Europe. I mean, Hearts had such a youthful lineup in some games. I mean, Simic and Nielsen played at centre half, for example, in some games for Hearts. And come down the line, that'll be a good partnership, and that partnership that can and will grow. But it was just a little bit premature considering the Hearts were involved in European action, and like I say, Fiorentina will have far more at their disposal in comparison to Hearts. Same in the midfield area. Hearts were a little bit lightweight in the midfield area, and you needed somebody like Snodgrass to see the team through, and that's where Hearts lacked in Europe. So if Hearts reach Europe again next season, I think they'll come of it with a lot more adaptability, a lot more organisation, and a lot more experience, and most importantly, be a bit more heavyweight in the middle of the park.
I'm glad on Monday night, I obviously watch the TV highlights later on, and I'm glad that they specifically pinpointed Snodgrass, because when you're watching a game live, you don't kind of see little things, and they highlighted him, and they showed the fact that he dropped into space, he was constantly picking up possession, he never gave the ball away, and he was constantly talking and telling folk where to go. We've lacked that bit of experience, and I think Robert Snodgrass has been outstanding. And pretty much most Hearts fans that I know will be delighted if he signs a new deal. He's been a massive player. And I think the thing is, a lot of Hearts fans probably didn't think he could play a lot of games because he is 35. But he just brings that composure and class. And as well, he's got a wonderful left foot, great set-piece delivery. And he's just been brilliant. But just all through that Hearts team just now, Dave, again, I go back to character. We've been behind a few times this season and we've come back and got something from United. With all the problems we had, with the injuries we had, we came back and got a point. Again, you look at St Johnstone game, 2-0 up, 2-1, could have maybe chucked it away. We get a 3-1. Then they get a goal back, but we've got the character to go win the game. I think for me, and again, something that's spoken about in the group chats that I'm in, this team has got a lot of character, something that I think has been sadly lacking for a while, but we've got leadership now. You know, I'm a massive fan of Cammy Devlin. That boy gives everything. He's outstanding. We didn't have a great game on Monday, but he never gave up. You got Lawrence Shankland, who is now on 18 goals. I really hope he doesn't get injured because he is now on course to be the first striker since Robertson to score 20 goals a season, which is mental given Robertson retired in 1998. But I think genuinely, Shankland could potentially score 30 goals a season. He's been brilliant for us. Again, Josh Ginnelly, there's talk about him getting a new contract. I would have driven him down the road myself weeks ago, but he's been superb recently. New lease of life, and I have to give credit to Robbie Nielsen as well. Again, he gets a lot of stick from a lot of Hearts fans, which I understand because I've done it myself, but he has really got this team playing some really decent stuff. He's got them winning games. We're winning games away from home, winning games we hadn't won before, i.e. Perth. It was 12 years since we last won in Perth, which is ridiculous. We hadn't beaten Kilmarnock at home for a good know how long, so he's got that record. But now, and any Hearts fan that is watching this will understand this, he now has to win the derby in the Cup at Easter Road. He's not won at Easter Road yet. That has to change.
And then do you think if you beat Hibs in the derby, okay, that maybe it's the end for the Johnson, but do you think, and we say this every week, Graham, do you think the fans will finally get off Robbie Nielsen's back?
Yeah, I think most of them have, to be honest, but I think he needs to win a trophy for me. That would definitely get the fans off his back, winning a trophy. And he's had chances. We've been in the last 3 cup finals, but I think he's done a really good job. He really has. His signings have been excellent. As I say, we're looking at a potential young guy from Newcastle. We're hoping to get Yutaro Oda's work permit. If you're Celtic, you get that in about an hour. We have to wait about 10 weeks, but there you go. But hopefully we'll get him over shortly. So things are looking really good. We're looking really positive. It's just a concern for me, the injuries we keep getting. You know, Halkett, Kingsley, we've had Gordon out now. That's a bit of a concern, but the squad is looking very, very good. And like Dave said, I think Hearts will finish third. I hope we do, but I think we will finish third.
Dave, on St Mirren, do you think they'll have a better chance at home tomorrow instead of at Tynecastle, or do you think Hearts will be too good for St Mirren tomorrow?
They're obviously compelling games when St Mirren and Hearts meet. There's been a few close games whenever both sides have met, and the fact that they play back to back will give it some form of intrigue because obviously whenever the sides play back to back, it can make for excuse me, it can either make for 2 very interesting games or it can make for 2 very low profile games. I'm hoping it's the former. And by the way, good to see our pal Patrice McPherson on. I know Patrice very well. He's a comedian, so he can maybe tell us a couple of jokes. More than happy for you to come on the show in future, Patrice. But yeah, in terms of this one tomorrow, I think if St Mirren could go and St Mirren and Roberts, I think they're the team that's got the most late winners out of any club this season. If they take out the equation Old Firm, because they've scored late on in some games. They scored late on against Dundee United. They scored late on against I think it was Holston and Motherwell actually, and they have scored a few late winners. So that could be at their disposal tomorrow. But Hearts have a good level of organisation. Ethan Erhahon looks like he's staying at the club. Although he had interest in Forest Green Rovers, so that could be a good piece of business as far as St Mirren's concerned, because it looked like a formality he was leaving the club. I just want to get back on your point, just about Graham Shinnie. We'll get you back on again. It's a good signing, but Graham alluded to leadership, and that's something I think Aberdeen lack right now. I think Aberdeen do lack leadership. Ross McCrory is good in his own right, but he's not a leader. Anthony Stewart's not exactly a talker in the pack. Kilroos will command, he will talk, but if you watch Aberdeen games in the flesh, you see from the outside looking in that there's not enough players speaking. And I think that's what you get from Graham Shinnie. You get a player that's going to give 100% for the jersey. Also, you've got a player there that's going to start speaking to players. And when you've got players as commanding as Graham Shinnie, it's always going to be helpful towards a team.
Sorry, Michael. Can I just quickly ask Dave? I've seen a lot of Aberdeen fans giving a lot of stick to Richardson and Stewart. Is that harsh, or are they just not cut out for this league?
Yeah, no, it's justified. Richardson isn't cut out for this league, definitely. I mean, the Rangers' third goal signifies that. The fact that he's just passed it across the 6-yard box, and Arfield's got a perfect invitation to go and win the game for Michael Beale's side. So that a lot of Aberdeen fans in particular, that specific moment. And also, what lets him down will be a big question. It's his ability not to get up the park. It's his defensive work. This is where Aberdeen fans are getting a lot of optimism behind Graham Shinnie, because they're hoping now that Ross McCrory will replace Richardson. What Aberdeen fans are basically hoping for is the criticism more labelled towards Richardson than it is Anthony Stewart. What Aberdeen fans are hoping for more now is Russo saying goals. The defensive four will be McCrory, Stewart, Scales, and McKenzie or Johnny Hayes, with the midfield two in the 4-2-3-1 being Ramadani and Shinnie. That's what Aberdeen are hoping for. That's what Aberdeen fans are hoping for. Whether that happens remains to be seen, but McCrory is better at right back as far as I'm concerned. And I think that's why Aberdeen fans are starting to get a bit of optimism in that regard. As for Anthony Stewart, good on the ball, but because he's a captain, that's where he gets the criticism. I don't think there's anything much bad about Anthony Stewart as a player in general, but it's more because he lacks leadership. And this is where the Graham Shinnie position comes in as intriguing and exciting as far as Aberdeen fans are concerned.
Before we move on to talk about the game, cheers, Patricia. It was nice to see you comment on Facebook. And anything else that you want to comment on, please comment away. We are here until 7 o'clock. And come back on Sunday as well, Patrice, because they're on between 3 and 5. I think that's during definitely the second half between Motherwell and Hibs, and also the game at Tannadice, Dundee United against Rangers. Funny kick-off time, 4 o'clock, but hey-ho, that's Sky for you.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because good thing for Scottish football in that aspect. Well, we'll get onto this debate in a minute. I think it's a good thing having the games at 1:30 at 4 o'clock, but I'm gonna get the Michael McEwen gravy train here because I think they're only showing 2 games tomorrow on Sunday. Pardon me, because there's the FA Cup on Sunday, and obviously Sky Sports can't show the FA Cup because of licensing agreements.
Graham, I've got to ask you a serious question, right? What's up with Dave tonight, right? Because he's actually giving short answers and he's actually agreeing with me. And I've got to say, I'll give credit where credit's due, Dave. Graham agrees with me as well, right? So if you're on a gravy claim with me, you've got to go on platform 5 with Mr. Duffy as well, right? Because, but you're right about the FA Cup. And if it wasn't for the FA Cup, there would be Motherwell and Hibs tomorrow and Rangers and Dundee United at 12 o'clock on a Sunday. Okay, I've drawn a line under that because I don't want to go into that debate. But no, you're right. You're right on that debate, Dave. Happy New Year to you as well, Dave. Actually, I'm loving your comments tonight. By the way, what's up with you? Motherwell and Hibs, Graham. Before we come back to Rangers game, I don't know if you saw it today. Louis Moult has returned. Has left Motherwell today. That's a bit of a weird one for me. And also Motherwell has not won a game at home. Get this, Graham, since August. So it's a massive, massive game for Hibs at the weekend. Going away to Fir Park.
Stick that down for 3-0 Motherwell. They'll beat Hibs. They're awful. No, it is a poor record. And I did see the Louis Moult thing. He was only on loan, so it's not a surprise he's gone back. But I don't think it had a great effect on Motherwell, to be honest. I don't think he scored that many goals, to be fair. So, I think, again, a bit like Ross County, Motherwell needs to strengthen this window. I keep saying this all the time. They are so reliant on Van Veen. They need somebody else in there to kind of take the workload off him. They need another goal scorer in there, maybe another 2, to be honest. So, Louis Moult, I don't think that's going to be a massive miss because he wasn't really contributing that much. But, that's a very, very poor home record. I didn't know that till you told me that. That's a very poor home record. That has to change. And they might be playing the perfect team because Hibs are coming up this to the back of a very, very poor run. So I will talk about Lee Johnson in a minute. But that is that's going to be an interesting game, I think. Again, the first goal could be crucial. If Motherwell get it, I wonder how Hibs might react to that. If Hibs get it, although I don't know who's scoring it because it won't be McCurdy because he is dreadful, then you never know. But I just think Motherwell, they've got to end that record at some point. They have to. So why not be this time?
Yeah, no, exactly. Just reading Kyle McGuinness's comments today on the Herald, the Herald paper, Dave, and he was saying that the players remain firmly even behind Lee Johnson, even though even though the results hasn't been going away. Obviously, he's got to come out and say these comments, Dave. But you've got to say, are they?
Well, as you say, that's the PR box. But as far as Hibs are concerned, they need a reaction fast. I mean, let's be honest. I'm going to get on the Martin Boyle gravy train again by saying that Hibs aren't a good team when Martin Boyle isn't involved. They lack an authority up front. They lack an authority across the park in general when Martin Boyle's not in action. And this is where Hibs lack cohesion. And the last thing you want, as far as Lee Johnson's concerned, is a negative vibe amongst the squad. Lee Johnson must acknowledge more than anybody else that when one star player such as Martin Boyle, now Boyle hasn't got an ego, he hasn't got anything that's negative or anything that makes him stand out. He stands out in a more authorised way where he makes the team tick. That's what makes Martin Boyle stand out in this Hibs side, because quite simply, it was acknowledged when he went across to the Middle East, and it was acknowledged when he went back to Leith, that Martin Boyle, with and without, are totally two totally different sides. And the last thing that Hibs want is Lee Johnson putting in a string of negativity when Lee Johnson firmly knows that this is a bottom six / top four, I would say, championship side. Because quite simply, they are that, right? If you take Ryan Porteous out of the team, I'm compelled, intrigued, and interested to see how Hibs get on. Sunday for me answers a lot of questions.
Graham, I hope you're sitting down, mate, because basically I'm just reading quotes from former Celtic and former Hibs boss Neil Lennon has said that he might be back in Scottish football soon. Do you think he'll be going to Leith?
He's done it before, and let's be honest, Johnson's under massive pressure, and he's brought it on himself. Now, I've been waiting for this, so I'm gonna try and be as nice as I can here. Now, if you want to go out for a drink on Hogmanay, that's fine, but you know that you're going to get caught on camera, and the fact that he got caught before a derby game, you better make sure if you're going to get caught, you win that derby, and he didn't. I think his signings have been very poor. And I think another thing for me is pretty much every interview he's done the last few days has gone in on the players. Now, he's said a couple of days ago that they have too many average players in that squad. If I'm a player in that squad, I'm thinking, I'm not playing for him. Why do I want to play for him if he doesn't rate me? I think the way he has handled things recently has been very, very poor. Now, I heard him again after the Derby game, and he talked about the fact that, Hibs were very poor, and they were. But he signed these players, or did he? It might have been Ron Johnson's puppet, you never know. But I think he has been far, far too... If you go on players, those players are going to turn around and go, I'm not playing for you. What do I want to play for you for? So, yeah, the comments about Kel McGuinness, what's he going to say? He's not going to go on his manager. But those players cannot be happy with what Lee Johnson said publicly, because he's done it too often, and you can only do that so often. And he's done it way too many times for me. He has to start getting results.
Speaking to him,
irrespective of alcohol, apparently he didn't drink alcohol, in inverted commas. Irrespective, you've got an Edinburgh derby the following day. What's Lee Johnson doing allegedly going to Musselburgh races and then being in the Scotsman? Is it Scotsman pub in Edinburgh? Was it? I think it was the pub that a lot of people were saying he was in. Alcohol, no alcohol. You stay in your bed or you go to a hotel, refreshed and ready to go for Tynecastle at Edinburgh Derby on the Monday. Had that been vice versa, if Robbie Nielsen had been caught in a pub in Gorgie or a pub within 10-minute walk of Tynecastle or indeed on the Orium, I think Hearts fans would have had something very to say about that as well. So it's not as though we're picking sides and saying Lee Johnson's this, Lee Johnson's that. Had it happened on the other side of the coin as well, Robbie Nielsen would have got exactly the same criticism that Lee Johnson has. So, yeah, it's very frustrating. But also the fact on Monday that Lee Johnson didn't go into the dressing room to speak to the players, instead used the media to vehemently criticise his players, is it a good look? Is it a good PR look? And if you're a player, you've got press officers in at clubs that will tell you what to say, and vice versa. But if you're a player and you haven't listened to your manager after the game because he wants to just go out in the public domain, what are you supposed to go and tell the journalists? Because there's not much you can go and tell the journalists, because all you can speak about is really the game. You can't speak about what's been said in house. Now, Lee Johnson said it's going to be a good thing that there's been conversations in house. At exactly the same time, conversations in house can be an open floor, but at exactly the same time, the manager always needs to be involved in these discussions in order for it to be, in order for the to be togetherness again and things to be rectified.
The Lee Johnson told Hibs TV he was so disappointed with the performance against Hearts, but we've got to get back on the horse, and that begins at Motherwell on Sunday. It will be a good game, and they are very, very good team with good players in the team. Graham, his comments has been baffling. And you must, as a Heart fan, must be you must think Christmas has came early every week. But I think what really got to me was his comments. I looked after the game, even though they get beaten. They said he admitted that Hibs played well, and that there were some decent points that he could take out the game as well. And he'd done it the same against Celtic on the 28th, and you're thinking, well, but you still get beat.
You know, I think forget getting back on the horse. Hibs have got too many donkeys in that team, and the manager's one of them. For me, if you are publicly criticising players like he has recently, I mean, for me, you would go in on the team as a whole. But I mean, I just think the way that he's acted recently has been very poor. Again, if you're going to go out, whether you drink or not doesn't matter. If you're going to go out the day before a derby game, I'll genuinely be honest, I thought that photo when I saw it was photoshopped. And then I found out it wasn't. It was actually true. To go out the night before a derby game, a massive derby game, was, I mean, you were going to get a lot of stick for that. You had to win the derby game, and he didn't. And they were quite poor for most of that game. But he is coming out far too often in the press and being really negative about his team and about players. I've just mentioned it there. The fact that he said he's got too many average players in that squad, if I'm a Hibs player, I'm not playing for him. I'm down in tools and go, well, you don't rate me, so why am I want to play for you? So I just think the way he's handled things has not been great. And again, you go back to the Celtic game and they got beat 6-1. He spoke in the press about the players should be going out the dressing room and saying, what do you guys do differently? Why would you come out and say that? You know, worry about your own team. I just think Lee Johnson, for me, looks out of his depth so far. I know a lot of Hibs fans didn't want him in the first place, but he's got the job now. I'm not saying he should be sacked, because they sacked Maloney. That was a poor appointment. They can't then admit they've made a mistake by bringing Lee Johnson in. They have to give him time and a few chance windows. But I think Lee Johnson has, for me, got to be a little bit better with the press and stop criticising your players as much as he has done, because that must annoy the players.
And the man might be coming back, and we say that he might be coming back, Neil Lennon. He criticised his players when it was okay at Celtic, but with Hibs, because did you not come out after one of the games, Dave, and he was talking about there's 4 or 5 players that didn't want to be here.
Yeah, he did. And there's an interesting concept to that, because it is about how you manage your players. But Neil Lennon, on the whole, did get the credit he deserves, in my honest opinion. Because if you look at it post Neil Lennon, with the exclusion of Jack Ross, what have Hibs done? Hibs have done nothing post Neil Lennon with the exclusion of Jack, because Jacko got the club to Europe and got them into the cup final. That's success for Hibs. Reaching Europe and reaching a cup final is success for Hibs. Because let's be honest, are Hibs going to be any better than that? Are Hibs going to topple that? Are Hibs going to be well? Hibs did tremendously well when it's Scottish under Stubbsy, but apart from that, it shows the job that Lennon did, because it deteriorated and faltered towards the end. Overall, he did a tremendous job. Now, those comments that Neil Lennon made would have been to try and get a bit of a pick-me-up, but also admit publicly that players weren't good enough, and use as fluid in football. And I think that's why Neil Lennon did it. He's like, look, I've got players here that aren't good enough, and that's it. I'm going to let them go, and that's that. End of story. We've reached an agreement. Wayne Johnson, it's far from that. I actually watched the interview whilst Graham was speaking, because he obviously spoke to the broadcast media, just to get a perspective on what he was saying. And he was saying that they're a few wins away from where they want to be, which is positive. But the question is that positivity driven internally as well? Or is that just to tick a box in the PR environment and say, right, if I go and say we're a couple of wins away, it gets the media on side? That's the big question as far as I'm concerned. It's a question that's going to be answered horizontally come Sunday afternoon in Mayard. But this is where it does get very interesting. It gets interesting in the aspect of, do they have the courage? Do they have the morals? Do they have the character? Do they have the judgment? Do they have it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be interesting to see that they cooperate, how they get on. As far as Johnson is concerned, he wants to win matches. And that's why he said it. But his terminology is what is letting him down.
Can I ask you both a question, right? Now, obviously, we don't know what happens at Hibs training, right? But he must have seen something, Lee Johnson, to start McCurdy and Fish. He's then taken them off at half-time. Do you think he's thrown them both under a bus? Because to play them both in an Edinburgh derby with that atmosphere, that passion that Hearts showed, especially Cameron Devlin, did he throw those two under a bus?
Well, if they've done enough in training and all that, they merit a start 100%. As long as they are adaptable, as long as they fit within the Hibs system, as long as Lee Johnson thinks they've got a place to play in the Hibs side, a place where he can think they can have an impetus and an authority in the game and an influence in the game. You play them all day long. But at exactly the same time, which is kind of alluded to your point, if you take them off at half time and then go and criticise them publicly, that's not a good look. And as you say, it throws them under the bus.
As for, I mean, they've got a perfect opportunity. I mean, because as I said, Motherwell's not won at home since August as well. So they've got a perfect opportunity to win. As for Stevie Hamill and Motherwell, he said that they need to start winning their home games. But he said the away form has been decent this season, but it's just the home games, Graham.
Yes, it's weird how that works out. You would think you'd be better at home than you're away, but that just kind of happens at times. But I think Hamill's done a decent job since he took over from Graham Alexander. He's a decent enough coach, but he's got to start winning games. And as I say, they might be playing against the right team, because Hibs are vulnerable. Hibs are not playing very well. They can only, unless Motherwell go down to 10 men, Motherwell have got a chance, because Hibs only beat 10 men, so you never know. But I think the last time Motherwell did got sent down to 10 men in the cup game, when McGarry got sent off for about a minute. So it could be an interesting game, but I just think Motherwell, they need to strengthen in the window. They have to bring a couple of strikers in, because if Van Dien gets injured or suspended or whatever, they're going to be struggling for goals. So it's a massive opportunity. And as I say, you're playing against a Hibs team that's vulnerable. How will Hibs react? And that first goal is going to be really important. If Hibs get it, they might be able to cling on to it, maybe try and add to it. But if Motherwell get an early goal, like what Hearts did, you wonder about the Hibs mentality. Could they come back, or is it going to be another case of, oh, well, that's us lost again?
That is a 1:30 kickoff by on Sky. Goose and Keichy fall off your chair. Sky's got 2 games this weekend instead of 1. And let's go off at 12:30 to a Premiership game in England. Not having a cop at all. Let's go across to the 4 o'clock game also on Sky, Dave. Dundee United and Rangers, and we heard from the manager of the month today, Michael Beale, and he was saying that positive news if you're a Rangers fan, because he said that there's players coming in on this window, and he's basically not saying there won't be any loan deals getting made. They'll be getting they will be buying players. So is that surprising to you, Glim?
Not really. Again, I don't want to sound really horrible here, but Michael Beale get man of the month for December. Robin Nielsen's not lost a game in December either. How does Michael Beale get it? But that's just one of these things. But yeah, I mean, I think they will probably strengthen. I think Rangers have played okay in spells. I thought they were better in the second half against Celtic. I still think, for me, and I know he has scored a couple of goals, I still think Morelos, for me, looks a little bit overweight at times and doesn't look interested, but maybe that will change. They are looking okay. I think they're getting a bit more from Ryan Kent, as that goal showed the other day. Really good goal. And they are looking okay, but I still think there's negatives on that Rangers side. I don't think they've played, for me, 2 good halves yet, but they're winning games. And that's what you can do as a Rangers manager, a Celtic manager. You win games. And they are doing that. And I do think they will strengthen. But I've said this before as well. I still think the title's gone. I just don't see Celtic dropping enough points and Rangers picking enough up. But Beale has done an okay job so far. I know that Rangers fans, some of them, are still not overly convinced. But as I Kate say, all you can do is win games, and he has done that. But I would think there's more to come for that Rangers team.
Yeah, but Michael Beale went on and said the more players we get back, Sorry, Dave.
Well, do you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yep. So Michael Beale went on today and said the more players we get back, the form will come back. But I think Graham's right there. I think it might be a bit late for that. But also, what he was saying was Graham's pal was back in Crennan, John Sutter and Hadji, and they might make an appearance before the end of the month. And as I said, well, yeah, Rangers are in talks with 2 or 3 players, and there won't be any long deals. Dave, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, I think Michael Beale is more geared up for the summer than he is in January, because January can be a funny window. It is a case of players that are not good enough at other clubs, or players that are supposed to requirements at other clubs that are brought in. And this is what I find very, very interesting. I think if you're going to get the real deal deals done, it's more or less the summertime. And Rangers have been accustomed and renowned for bringing in big players, but putting them on big money. What's in January, and I don't think the Rangers board or Ross Wilson will want to go down that approach again, because ultimately they took in guys such as Harry Ramsey last year, and it backtracked massively on Rangers. And I think Rangers will go. I don't think there'll be any swift changes. But I agree with what Chris Boyd's saying. Point this else. I think he's at the club. So for me, I think he needs to go. In terms of tying him down a new deal. There's players in there that should be let go as well. And I think 4 need to go out, and I think 4 need to come in as far as Rangers are concerned.
I think you're getting mixed up there, Dave. I know it's. Do you not mean it's a real deal and Skigga's a real deal? Sorry, that was I thought it was coming pantomime there as well. But as for Dundee, yeah. But as for I can't believe this, Grim. 25-6, and me and Dave are best pals. What's happening here?
To be honest, I thought Patrice was a comedian. Leave the comedian jokes to him.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, but we get paid a bit more, 50 pence maybe. I don't know. Dave, as for Dundee United, obviously, I don't think you saw United a lot this season, but you're the man that used to go to the games, and what do you think of their form going into the game against Rangers?
Yeah, they've had two fantastic wins prior to Sunday. Very good result against Ross County a week past Wednesday. They were solid, kept the clean sheet. Charlie Mulgrew got on the score sheet, which is a long time coming now. And yeah, all round a professional performance as far as Dundee are concerned. And then they go to St Johnstone Monday, get a fantastic win, catch Tony Watt in front of a rapturous United support. And it's quite interesting. And Foxy said it himself that it is a very funny window because Tony Watt and Aziz Behich have had a few offers in the last week. Tony Watt's been linked with Salford, and Aziz Behich has been linked with Galatasaray. And Tony, it's actually funny because a lot of people and a lot of United sources have been saying that Tony Watt's off to Salford, but had he been off to Salford or had there been any sort of interest one way or another, I think the body language would maybe told on Monday at St Johnstone, but Tony Watt did tremendously well a bit there at Park. Whilst for Aziz Behich, he's looking at this and saying to himself, I'm in a really good place just now. And the Galatasaray link, Scott Barnes from the Daily Record has been disputing it, saying he doesn't think it will happen. So I find the whole thing very interesting, and yeah, it's interesting to see where Dundee go from here. So yeah, there's still a lot to come from Dundee, I feel, but January transfer dealings, incomings and outgoings will be interesting to say the least.
And as for Rangers, Graham, do you think that they'll hoping to bounce back after that the equaliser from Kyogo on Monday?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I thought second half they were better. I think for me, the kind of turning point in the game, I mean, for long spells of that first half, Celtic dominated. I think the turning point was that mistake from Joe Hart. You know, that kind of got the Rangers fans on side. And from then on, I thought Rangers were better. Second half, they were far better. They got in Celtic's faces. They obviously got the 2 goals. I know we'll probably get to that shortly, but there's a very controversial decision for the corner goals and the handball.
That's why I left the Celtic game till last, Graham, because there was very interesting comments from Postecoglou today.
I'm absolutely sick of this handball rule. I don't know what it is anymore. I give up. But yeah, I mean, I thought Rangers I thought they were better second half against Celtic, but they'll be disappointed if not won that game. But again, as soon as the ball goes up for stoppage time, you kind of think Celtic, you know, that phrase that Postecoglou was using, we don't stop, and they didn't. And I think, again, you also look at the subs that Rangers made to what Celtic made. You know, Celtic bring on guys like Jota and Giakoumakis. Rangers bring on guys like Scott Wright and James Sands. There's a massive difference in quality on the benches. And obviously, Jota kind of makes that equaliser. And Kyogo does what he does. He scored goals. But I think Rangers can take a lot of positives for the game. But again, they've not managed to win the game. Had they won that game, get the gap down to 6, I still don't think it's going to be enough to win the title, but they can take positives for the game, but they'd have been disappointed not to have won that.
Let's move on now to speak about the last game, and I've basically left it till the last game because I think we're on speaking about this for another half an hour or another year. The VAR and Andy Postecoglou had a say in it, and apparently the reports that Celtic's got to get a meeting with SFA to talk about the VAR. Now, before Graham and Dave jumps in here, Postecoglou did say it's for other clubs that's having this issue as well. So it's not just a Celtic issue before. You think it's a kind of Celtic Rangers conspiracy or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael, what's the issue?
Yeah.
What is the issue?
Well, just by listening to Posca Cogler a few today and the last couple of weeks, he thinks that it's 3 or 4 decisions that has not went away this season.
Right, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But they still not lost. They're not losing.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point, actually, yeah. But I think that's more getting to the quality that they're bringing on, whether it's on the park or the subs as well. But yeah, let's go on to the Celtic game. Celtic tomorrow, the first game of the year at Celtic at home. Kyogo was named Player of the Year. And
Player of the month. Player of the month. It's not got Player of the Year yet.
Player of the month, sorry, yeah, no. I've told you I've not been well this week. The antibiotics has maybe kicked in. Kyogo, can we scan the show again, please? Kyogo is a Player of the Month, and Andy Postecoglou said he has been outstanding for us ever since he's come in the door. Now, I know that Kyogo scored a few goals, crucial goal against Rangers last week and the game against Hibs the other week. But I don't know about you guys, but I think he's not back his best yet.
I'll take that. No, I don't think he is. I don't think he's very anywhere near it, and I think that injury's played a massive part. He doesn't look quite as sharp, as razor sharp as he is. I'm not saying he's lost a yard of pace, but he doesn't look quite as prolific as he was. He's still scoring goals. He's getting the right place, but he's not got that kind of natural instinct that he had. I think he's level with Lawrence Shankland at the moment with 15 goals. So he is still scoring, but I just don't think he looks quite as good as he has been. And I know a couple of weeks ago, there was talk about Giakoumakis taking his place. But again, Giakoumakis might be leaving. I think Kyogo's a very, very good player. There's no doubt about that. But for me, I kind of agree. I don't think he has been at his best.
Dave, since I've said this a few times on the show now, since he picked up that injury against Johnson during lockdown, I think it was, he's not been the same player up at McDermott Park in Boxing Day.
Yeah, no. Sometimes when you get an injury, you can't tell you. And that's exactly what's happened in Kyogo's case. I mean, he started the season fighting way well. He was still a real impact player, but I get what you're saying. Whenever he started off at Celtic, he was good in terms of not just being in the 6-yard area or being a penalty box striker. He was good at doing all different kinds of roles that you could encompass with a striker. In terms of heading and getting into good areas and being not just in number 9, but number 10. He was an adaptable striker. As you say, after that injury and coming back from it, he's more penalty box orientated, which I think is a dangerous thing. But at exactly the same time, it means it means Celtic have to play a totally different system in the forward areas because Kyogo is more renowned for being a penalty box striker.
Yeah. Team news ahead of the game then for Celtic. Greg Taylor misses it. In fact, Postecoglou said that he'll be out for a few weeks now. So I take it that'll be after the cup game before you see him up against Kilmarnock that Saturday. Derek McKenna said that we will be looking forward to the game tomorrow, and he was asked about the form of his team, and he said that we will find out in the next few weeks how far the team is, because obviously I think they've got Celtic next week as well in the cup, but also I think they've got Rangers at Rugby Park as well in a few weeks as well. So Derek McKenna says it will be a bigger test in the next few weeks, and we'll see where we are. But it's going to be, well, a good couple of tests coming up for Kilmarnock, but they need to start winning games, Graham.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they basically played 83 minutes on Monday night against 10 men and couldn't score. and I've got to be honest, I don't want to be harsh here, but when you're starting Christian Dodge and Scott Robertson up front, you've got problems. They are not clinical strikers. They are missing Kyle Lafferty. Again, I go back to Ross Kent, I go back to Motherwell. Kilmarnock have got to sign a couple of strikers in January because they are very much lacking. I watched them against Hibs a couple of weeks ago. We all know that Hibs are on a poor run. Again, it's a couple of set-piece goals. I just don't think Kilmarnock create enough. And I just don't think you're not going to get enough goals from Doidge and Robinson. I remember Scott Robinson at Hearts as a 17-year-old, and he wasn't a striker. He was a midfielder, but he played up front. And it looks like he's doing that again now, but he's more experienced. But I think Kilmarnock, I don't see them taking anything off Celtic. It could be a 4 or 5 to be honest. But yeah, Kilmarnock have got to strengthen this window, especially up front, because that forward line for me is sadly lacking.
Dave, have you been a bit surprised at Kilmarnock? Because usually when a team comes up, they do kind of well. But Kilmarnock has struggled from the get-go this season. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think there's been a few obstacles as far as Kilmarnock's concerned. We've had players such as Kyle Lafferty maybe off the boil a little bit. Obviously, Lafferty's had his big ban that is still ongoing because of the World Cup break. Jordan Jones was tipped to be a massive player for Killie, especially having been at the club before. He's actually not delivered at all. I was actually surprised to find that he's very seldom played because of injuries, and whenever he has played, he's done very little to contribute for Kilmarnock. So that's been very interesting. And it's been rectified now, and I'm intrigued to see how this goes, but obviously they've taken a striker with Kyle Fassell coming in, and I'm looking forward to see how he gets on. Kilmarnock got a win over Aberdeen, but let's be honest, Kilmarnock didn't have to beat their best to beat Aberdeen because Aberdeen were atrocious, as I alluded to earlier on the show. And when you think about it, I think Kilmarnock got off to a slow start because they couldn't get the right recruitment put in, they couldn't get the right blend of player in, and they just go over the line in the Championship last season. And even then, we were saying back then that they still had a lot of work to do. I was speaking to mates, I was speaking to you guys, and we were all of the opinion that Kilmarnock still had 7 or 8 players in order to find a Premiership blend. Not just a blend that would go win you games of football, but a blend that would go and give you good performances as well. Now, ultimately, McInnes hinted to McInnes used to warn market wisely last year because obviously Dean Campbell came in and Dylan Tate came in and Declan Glass came in and Ollie Shaw was there, but obviously became permanent after joining Killie. That's what seen them over the line against an enthusiastic Arbroath was the fact that Killie had a bit more quality in the end, which seen them over the line. But then Killie had a few sore defeats against like Cali and that, and you could sense even then that it was going to be a frustrating one. And then Kilmarnock did very, very little the coaches reignite or rectify that. I've seen Kilmarnock a few times in the Premier Sports Cup in the flesh. They weren't convincing. The guy Ken McIndoe had a bit about him, but I still felt that because didn't get the right formula or was searching for the right formula, and that's where it went horrendously wrong. So apologies for the lack of short answers on this one, Michael, but having seen Kilmarnock in the flesh a few times this season, I felt justified to give you a big one on this one.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I was waiting for that. I couldn't go a full show day without having a half an hour answer. So there you go. Thanks, Dave, for that one. Right, let's get back at then. Right, the VR. Sorry, Graham. Andy Postecoglou said today that he's been it's just very confusing for the players. What can they do in the box? What they can and cannot do. There's no consistency. Do you agree with his comments?
Yeah, and I think it's true. I mean, the one on Monday with Connor Goldson. Now, if you look at where his hands are up. Now, I think he's trying to protect his face, but they are in an unnatural position. The ball is hit very close to him. It's in the penalty box. But what I don't get is, I think it's Willie Collum that's in the VR room. Why has he not asked John Beaton to go look at that and make a decision for himself? It looks to me like John Beaton's had no option but to go with what he's been told. Now, if you're not sure, I've said this before, if you're not sure in that room, if you need a second opinion and think, do you know what, maybe you should look at that? Or, can the referee on the pitch say, is this something I need to look at? Now, I don't know if John Beaton's done that or not, but, it does hit his hand. It is a natural position, but this is happening pretty much every week. I think I saw a couple of days ago as well or was it last week? I'm losing track of days. Was a Livingston one when Sean Kelly missed the 2 penalties? There was a guy that had his back turned and the ball hit his hand and a penalty was given. Now, that was the same thing with Celtic and Burnaby against United. He had his back turned and the ball hit his hand.
With the corner.
How is that a penalty? You look at Matt O'Reilly's one against Ross County again. How is that a penalty? I keep saying this. The handball rule is open to interpretation, but nobody seems to know what it is. You're getting penalties for some, and you're getting penalties for other ones. And again, I've said it before as well. As a Hearts fan, I was genuinely shocked that Michael Smith didn't get the handball against Celtic. So the handball rule is very, very difficult to understand what's a penalty and what's not. But I can understand why Postecoglou and other managers are getting frustrated, but because it does hit Goldson's hand. It is a natural position. But again, why is John Beaton not getting asked? Go and look at the monitor, make it your own mind. If he goes to the monitor and says it's not a penalty, fair enough. But he didn't get the option, and that's the problem.
What about Rangers' first penalty? When Cavalier put the ball in the net, do you think that's do you think that was a kind of penalty?
The second goal, yeah.
Yeah,
no, the one Tavernier scored.
Yeah, the second goal. Yeah. I think it is a penalty. I think it's the defender's been a little bit cynical and silly because when you look at it, the ball goes into the box and the Sakala, is it? Sakala's in a hide out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Sakala's in a hide out of nowhere. He's in no man's land. He's not exactly 6 yards out of goal. He's not exactly in the final third. He's not exactly on the edge of the D. He's not exactly in any. He's in a dangerous area. He's not exactly in an area that's going to cause any trying to think of the right word here, any marginal threat to the opposition. For me, an organised defender or an organised defence or somebody with a bit of a streetwise ability about them would have avoided a foul, first and foremost, would have tried to get something on the ball, but wouldn't have been as cynical and as careless as what Celtic were on Monday. So it's nothing to do with VAR. I think it's more because Celtic weren't intelligent enough and were careless in their approach.
Graham, do you think it's right that Celtic's make a complaint to the SFA and kind of like demanding a meeting?
Celtic fans might switch off, but no. I mean, this is going to happen to every single team. Everyone's going to get poor decisions. Yes, Celtic are the fair few. I get that, but they've still not lost. Now, I know Celtic fans say that's not the point. We're getting it's a conspiracy. It's not. It's not a conspiracy. It never has been. It's ridiculous to say it is. But I just think that you could have every team. I mean, is every team going to get invited to this, or is it just Celtic? I mean, it's going to happen to everybody. And I think for me, again, I keep saying this, so go back to this, but the handball rule, I said this in one of the previous shows. If I'm a manager, I'm telling my players, if you're near that box, aim for the hand, because it should be a penalty. Yeah. I'm now seeing other teams as well. I actually watched this a couple of days ago as well. I've seen other players now and other teams putting their hands right down by their side, like right down. But even then, if a striker's clever enough, just hit it at the hand, because you should get a penalty for it. I mean, what what is the rule these days? Nobody knows what it is, and that's the thing for me. And I keep going back to this point as well. I'm seeing some referees go to the monitor and some referees not go to the monitor. So you've either got to all go to the monitor or you all don't go to the monitor. But again, I don't understand why John Beaton's not been asked to go and look at that and make up his own mind. Again, whether it's the proximity of how close it is hit at Goldson, I don't know. That's all I can assume. But, I mean, this handball rule, it's getting worse by the day. You're going to get a lot more of this before the season finishes.
And it's going to cost a team getting relegated or staying up. You know, I could see it coming, But on to the game in hand, then, Dave. Am I being a bit disrespectful in saying this looks like easy game on paper for Celtic? Bearing in mind, Celtic went to Kilmarnock early on in the season and fought 1-4-0.
I'm gonna flip and reverberate the question the other side and say you've got to beat what's in front of you. That would be the Ange Postecoglou will have the meetings with players all week. He'll have meetings with the players tomorrow, and he won't be saying easy 3 points. Let's just turn up. This will be a case of but we're playing a side that are struggling at near the tail end of the bottom. But exactly the same time, Kilmarnock on their day can provide a threat. I mean, Derek McCriss has, albeit Aberdeen, different surroundings, different pressures, different budgets, but Derek McCriss has went to Celtic Park before and picked up results. So that'll be Ange Postecoglou's mind, and his message to players will be: make sure you're on it, make sure you're on the front foot, and make sure you're sending a message to players, sending a message to Kilmarnock, because you play them in the League Cup a week on Saturday again. It's an opportunity to put a statement down before that game.
Just as well, you said a week on Saturday, Dave, because a quick plug for the show next week. We'll be on. We'll be on a weekend actually. Friday, we may as well just meet up and sleep together. No. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah. Thanks, Graham, for getting my kind of joke, but I was like, well, I can't believe I'm going to say that. So we're on Friday, 5 till 7. Saturday night even with Graham Dunas Parky Tunes after the game between 7:30 and 8:30, if I've got my time right there. And on Sunday after the Aberdeen Rangers game at 5 o'clock. So there you go. So I wasn't going to mention it, but because Dave mentioned about the cup game next week as well, I thought we'd mention that one. So the Celtic game tomorrow, Graham. How do you think this will pan out? And do you think Kilmarnock will pack the bus tomorrow?
Well, if they do, I wouldn't be surprised. You're up at Celtic Park, which is not an easy place to go, as we all know. So I think Kilmarnock have got to try and go there and just give it their best. They're not. I think the thing is, they're not expected to get anything. I know it is 11 against 11, but the quality Celtic have got is just far, far too good. And I think Celtic will probably win this by 5 or 6, to be honest. I hope there's no Killie fans watching this, but I just think Celtic are too strong. And again, I don't think they played well against Rangers. They did for spells, but second half they didn't play that well, and they still didn't get beat. So, there's a mentality about the Celtic team. They just don't lose. And as I keep going back to, you're bringing guys off the bench and Jota and Giacomakis who can make a massive difference. So Kilmarnock don't have that. I've just spoken about the fact they've got Christian Doidge and Robinson up front. It's a massive, massive gulf in class. So I think Celtic will be far, far too strong, and they will sexually lead the game. I honestly think they could win this 5 or 6. And I don't know if it was you that mentioned it or somebody else, but I genuinely believe Celtic could easily hit another 9 this season against somebody. I think somebody will get a hammering. It might be Kilmarnock.
Lee Johnson thinks Celtic has scored 10 against somebody.
Might be Lee Johnson, actually, yeah. I think he might be right, to be honest.
Yeah, it might be the Hibs game when Celtic plays Hibs. I don't know. Dave, I was thinking about this morning, right? And I think that this the difference between Celtic and the other teams in the league, and I'm including Rangers in there. Sorry, Andrew, if you're watching there, because Postecoglou doesn't like Celtic being mentioned with Rangers. Maybe get that from the other week. I don't know if you saw that press conference, Dave, the other week. That was very interesting. But Celtics get so much quality in their team; they can afford to, be out with, 2 or 3 players, but also they can bring 2 or 3 players into the squad as well. I'm thinking about maybe a lot of people will laugh at me here, but Greg Taylor, he's out for a few games now. If you ask any Celtic fans, they would get me bothered if Greg Taylor was going away last season or this season or whatever. But he's actually completely changed now, Greg Taylor, and you saw that on Sunday up until he took off at Ibrox.
Yeah, that's the benefits of Celtic have. And don't get me wrong, they've got the resources, but that's what Ange Postecoglou has kind of gave his guys, isn't he? He's gave his guys an opportunity for 7 depth, which means nobody's going to earn their shirt. Well, everybody's to earn their shirt, should I say, sorry. And you're not getting, your place in the team's not going to be a given. You've got to work hard for it. And that's what Gerrard, I know we're speaking about Celtic here, and I'll go back to Celtic in a minute, but that's what Gerrard implemented on the Rangers. It was sign players in each position in order to make sure you're not a giver for playing every week. Exactly the same is happening with Postecoglou at Celtic. It's a fresh initiative and a fresh approach to make because, quite simply, Celtic are in a very, very good place just now. And they've got a lot of depth, a lot of quality at their disposal, and won't may that continue.
Michael,
yes.
I wanted to ask you as a Celtic fan, I might ask Dave this as well. What did you make of Alistair Johnson's debut against Rangers?
I thought it was a bit of, I can work in 2 ways, that he can play the game and, he would be a bit overwhelmed by the atmosphere and all that kind of thing. But I thought it was quite kind of steady through the game. But yeah, I mean, I watched him in the World Cup as well, and I thought he was a steady player as well. But yeah, I mean, I suppose it's too early to judge him. Maybe give him a few games, and then you could ask me that question, Glenn. But I thought it was steady last week, especially going to Ibrox, in your debut. But no,
Okay.
I thought
it's a bit of a make or break game. It's a bit of a make or break game to put somebody into because if Johnson was to go and have a horrendous game against Ryan Kent, he'd have been criticised by his own supporters. But also, he's been ridiculed by the whole Scottish football, saying he's not cut out for a club like Celtic, he's not cut out for this level. But ultimately, we're looking at Alistair Johnson and saying to ourselves, says he ex-Juranovic, he's a replacement for Juranovic. I think that's why he's brought him in. Yeah, there's that strength and depth because obviously nobody's secure of a place in the Celtic side in that position. At exactly the same time, we all looked at Alistair Johnson arriving at Celtic and saying he's potentially Juranovic's replacement now. There's been no concrete offers for Juranovic yet, but at exactly the same time brings a fluid of football, and it seems to be that he could be anywhere from Barcelona to Chelsea. So that's an interesting concept to say the least, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all evolves. I would just want to ask you an interesting point about Juranovic. Do you think Celtic have handled him well? Because I was reading a few comments by journalists, by people on social media, and they don't think Celtic have handled the Juranovic situation well, whether that's the contract, his future, anything that's surrounded it.
He got a lot of stick on Monday. A lot of folks said he's on a plane already. He was dreadful against Rangers. Maybe they haven't handled it very well. I think Juranovic has been brilliant for Celtic, and he was great in the World Cup, but Monday night he had one of these games where nothing went right. He comes off the bench, didn't start the game, comes off the bench, and he was awful. And again, I go back to, I listened to Radio Phoning after that, and a lot of Celtic fans were saying, he's gone, he's checked out, he's not interested now. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think that's the case, but maybe Celtic haven't handled this particularly well so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I know why people's kind of like jumping on his back and say, "Oh yeah, he's away to Spain as well." But it's only one bad game he's had, and people's actually going over the top as well. I could see why they're saying that. But I mean, it's only one game, and let's be honest. I mean, he's been away for is it the past month at the World Cup as well. If he has a bad game tomorrow, then you might hear more Celtic fans saying, he's at Glasgow Airport regularly looking at a new, but it's only kind of like one game, and as you could imagine, Postecoglou played that down today in this press conference to say, well, he's actually only had one bad game and people's up in arms about it as well. So I feel it's a bit unfair because up until that he's done a decent job so far for Celtic. Okay, so before we get back, we've only got a few minutes left. Before we get back to the football, let me tell you, if you're an ice hockey fan and if you're a Glasgow Cran fan, the ice hockey team, they're playing tomorrow at the Breheg Arena. So maybe you can go shopping first before you go to the game or whatever, I don't know. And they're playing Manchester Storm. And believe you me, there'll be a storm tomorrow if Manchester won't win. Sorry, I had to get that joke in there. And oh yeah, I forgot to tell you the time of that game. It's 7 o'clock, and you can find more details on the Glasgow Cran website if you want to purchase a ticket for the game tomorrow. Okay, so we're happy to see Dave back in action now for the new year, and he's back at a game tomorrow, so you better watch out. Dave's about. You're going to Abroad tomorrow against Inverness.
It's been nice to have a fortnight off because obviously I was meant to be at Dunfermline against Falkirk on Monday. I was telling you off air, Michael, that I was on my way to Dunfermline, about 10 miles outside Dunfermline. I got to see it on Twitter that the game was off. So I was sending you guys pictures of Edinburgh Castle in the group chat. So I'd rather have been at East End Park, to be fair. And I was saying that exactly to myself at the time. Funnily enough, I actually got. There was an artist beside Edinburgh Castle, and I actually got a picture of myself as a cartoonist. So I'll need to send that to you guys to see what you think. That's how interesting my Monday got. But first game of the fortnight, first game since I broke against Queen's Park on the 23rd. So looking forward to being up at Gayfield tomorrow. Both sides have had good victories recently. Cali beating Cove 6-1 on Monday. That was a good result for Cali. Dodge's side will get a lot of confidence from that. And then I both got a fantastic win at Dens Park beating Dundee 4-2. 4 you sides in for a Broth. So going to be you looking at Broth side tomorrow, I think.
Are Queen's Park going to win this league?
I think they've got at least a chance. I think they'll be in the top two. I think it's between them and Dundee for the league. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the game tomorrow. Then let me just run through the rest of the game for you tomorrow. If you're interested, you can go to one. You can Ayr United are playing Hamilton. Cove Rangers I saw Paul Hartley's back at Cove Rangers. They're playing Queen's Park and Parket Thistle against Morton. That I don't know about you, Glenn, but I mean that Parket Thistle Morton game seems an interesting game as well. Let's hope there's no fights there at the game tomorrow because I think there's a lot of infighting at Parket Thistle at the moment. I still find that hard to believe because I thought Parket Thistle fans were very present, and now sit down, do not swear. But now they're like, oh, come on, Heg, mate. I'll take you on. And Paul Hartley is back at Cove Rangers as well. So there you go. Good sort of time, guys. It's been a busy show. We must get out of here now But we'll be back on Sunday between 3 and 5, reviewing the games and looking at the Rangers Dundee United game and Motherwell against Hibs. So thanks for joining me tonight, Dave and Graham. Thanks for agreeing with me through the whole show, Dave. Let's hope it keeps up till the end of the season. And we'll see you soon.